Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I am excited to have another in-depth conversation today with Mr. John Hutchinson. John is a great business owner, pool expert, savant even. I'm going to let him dive into all of those details. Just a great guy in the Nashville area, knows a lot about pools, and we're going to dive into that today and how a lot of that stuff impacts real estate. So, John, man, thanks for jumping in and chatting with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Grant. Looking forward to this. Started doing pool work. I left commercial construction and decided to dive into, no pun intended, swimming pools. Yeah, started just saw a need in the Nashville area, at least, probably more areas, for reliable pool service. We started really 2014 in the Nashville area. There were certainly some competitors that still exist in the Nashville area, but the landscape has changed significantly in the last 10, 11 years. But yeah, started pool cleaning, pool maintenance, which is historically a really fragmented industry. A lot of people kind of do it as a part-time job. There can be competitors that are really, really good at their job, but struggle to run a business, struggle to schedule and be reliable, and certainly personable people, great, wonderful executors of the trade in the field trade. But I was kind of hoping to do something here in Nashville and offer a service where people could really rely on a professional, somebody who's been in the business world for a while. And I also struggle to have my own home service needs met. So yeah, set out to create a sustainable business, sustainable for the employees that work for me and for the people we serve. So yeah, started out pool cleaning and repairing pools, repairing equipment. Every pool has at least a pump and a filter, and those things need servicing. Started out doing that, and fast forward to today, 60% of what we do, build custom gunite pools, and got about 350 pools regularly that we clean every week. And with each one of those customers, like I said, they've got at least a pump and a filter. Sometimes we have some clients with 13 pumps. And so we have an entire service department dedicated to taking care of our existing clients and those that may call in and have needs as well. And a lot of those do include real estate transactions.
And you guys also are doing a lot actively right now on the new construction side, right? So you build pools, remodel pools, do some of that.
Yeah, so we have really three main revenue verticals. One would be pool cleaning. We call that pool maintenance here in Nashville. Around the nation, people call it different things. But pool maintenance, when I refer to that, I'm referring to weekly visits where we clean your pool, we balance your chemistry, water chemistry, ensure your pool's A, safe to swim in, B, clean and clear, and C, healthy for the components of the pool, like your pool plaster or your liner or your fiberglass shell and your plumbing and your pump and filter and all that kind of stuff. Pool chemistry actually really can have an impact on every single one of those components. So we have to do that. Maintaining your pool chemistry is more than just keeping your pool beautiful. It's really trying to extend the lifespan of all the different components that make up your pool. So we do that in our service division, and then we have an entire renovation and construction division as well. And those two things overlap in one division simply because it's a lot of the same trades: concrete, tile, stone, masonry work, that kind of stuff. So we do all that as well.
Love it. We're talking a lot about pool maintenance, but also like how a lot of that stuff impacts real estate. And most people would say that having a pool positively impacts a home's value. Initial comments just on that kind of like general understanding, having a pool, yes, it impacts value, but maybe, what are things that realtors and customers, maybe they just like automatically assume about this, but things that they don't take into consideration, or do's or don'ts. Like, we all think that having this thing in our backyard's definitely going to score us some points when it comes to home values, but maybe, is that true? What are things we don't consider? Can you kind of coach us through that?
I've seen a shift actually in the last 10 years in people buying houses, what they're looking for. Most of the time, or I guess years ago, we weren't hearing as much about people looking for a house with a pool. These days, the expectation is that they have a pool or that they have space for a pool. A lot of the calls that I get these days are like, hey, we don't know if we're going to buy this house, but we're definitely not going to buy this house if we can't build a pool. Can you come give us a preliminary look to see if you think you can build a pool, and let me know about the code restrictions in this area and that kind of thing. So it's really important for us to get in even early on in a real estate transaction to say, if the customer wants a pool, which, like I said, most people are looking for pools these days, especially in Nashville, where people are moving from a lot of different areas that have a lot more pools than we do here. And so moving into a spot where they want a pool, it's 110 degrees here in the summer. We also have fairly mild winters. There's, you probably can't see it, but snow behind me, but that's pretty infrequent here. Furthermore, aside from the climate, a lot of people are looking for entertainment, especially outdoor entertainment. And the pool is kind of the centerpiece. Whether you're swimming in it or not, people like to gather around a pool. I like to use my home as an example. Often, when we built the pool, we became the house in the neighborhood and even outside the neighborhood where people come in and just gather. So whether they're swimming or not, doesn't matter. 2 nights ago, and it was 30 degrees outside, and they were all hanging at my house.
You just have like a heater in the pool? Is that like what you got to do?
We do have a heater on the pool. We didn't heat the pool 2 nights ago. We heated the hot tub. It's a lot cheaper to heat a hot tub than a pool. We had 20 kids in the hot tub throwing snowballs at each other. It's just really funny. To answer your question, the do's and the don'ts, I mean, really, you want to look at the neighborhood. We have people call us all the time asking about different types of pools and what they should build. Like, what do we normally see in these types of neighborhoods? And my first question is, hey, how are you going to use this pool? Is this pool just for getting wet in the summertime? Are there kids in the picture? How are they going to be using the pool? Or is this an entertainment pool for adults usually? And everybody's answer varies. And so that really directs the conversation from there, what kind of pool we want to build for them. If the house has a pool already, people are always asking, like, what's my liability here? What's my risk? What am I looking at having to replace? And frankly speaking, every pool comes with a maintenance cost for sure. It's similar to your grass. You can't stop cutting the grass in the summertime. It's got to be cut. We're happy to give, hey, here's what an annual, if you average out 10 years of a lifespan of 10 years of a pool, what's the life cycle costs? Here's what you can anticipate. We don't have a crystal ball, but we have a lot of customers that we see weekly. We have a pretty good idea of what that will be. Thrilled to have those types of conversations with realtors or potential home buyers. But at the end of the day, when I built my own pool, and I own a pool building company, a pool company in general, it still cost me more than I wanted it to. But when I see, like 2 nights ago, 20 kids in my hot tub and all their parents hanging out at my house and we're just having a great time, I constantly remind myself of how that was worth it. The money was worth it. So even the maintenance of it, again, it's just you own a home with a pool, you've got costs associated.
Let's say I'm a realtor and I'm showing a house. House doesn't have a pool, but the customer is saying, this is something that we want. If I'm a real estate agent, just what should I look out for to be able to say, okay, this might be a good backyard for a pool, but ultimately let's call John. Let's get him in here to look for it. But like, coach me up. Like, what should I say or what should I be on the lookout for so that I could educate my clients just enough to say, yes, this is probably something you could do. Let's go talk to the professional.
Yeah, so great question. Great question. I mean, cost, budget aside, slope of the yard aside, all of that stuff, let's assume that's all fine. The first question I'm going to ask are what are your setback lines? So in most transactions, right, you're going to have a survey. You know where your property line is. And then in different municipalities around, at least around where we are, you can be in this neighborhood and then 10 miles or 5 miles this way, and you've got different restrictions. So the main thing is understanding, for the real estate agent to really understand where are the property lines and what are the setback. And then what does that leave as far as the blank canvas there? Because we built pools that are 13 feet out of the ground. So if you've got a slope, it's not an obstacle we can't overcome. I mean, ideally, right? Like ideally, it's a flat lot. If they've got a flat lot, great. But the thing that's really going to stop us is how much green space do they have available for this project. So that's really the first thing for if I was a real estate agent that I'd want to know is where are the property lines and how much green space do we have to build this pool. I've been out on a lot of different calls for different real estate agents and that's my first question is, do you know? Because I'm coming in blind. I don't know. If you can tell me that, we can conceptually design something great for these folks and kind of pare back from there if we need to.
That's awesome. When it comes to having a pool, just like as a general curiosity, do you see that there's insurance impacts? Like, does your insurance costs go up? Like, do some of those things happen?
That's a good question. I think I could probably better answer that as a pool owner. Yeah. When we built our pool, we obviously informed our insurance company. I don't remember our homeowners insurance going up astronomically or noticeably. Certainly, you do want to let your insurance company know as they insure your entire property. Pools are so common these days. Insurance companies are used to insuring them. There's no like, oh, you got a pool, we're not going to insure you. They would lose a lot of business that way. Yeah, things like hesitantly, but we somewhat discourage people from installing diving boards. That's less of an insurance thing, more of a like, hey, people can get hurt on these things. And usually, typically, people don't use diving boards more than the first summer that they had it, and it becomes this novelty that wears off. So they end up not using them. I tell people all the time, we take out more diving boards than we install. It's always this wish list item. I don't know that I've had a conversation with a potential pool owner that they haven't mentioned a diving board. but typically we end up not building.
That's funny. There's so many things like that in a house that it's like these are really nice to have things, but then when you think about it in hindsight, like we don't need to use this. Like we're about to flip a house, looking at the bathroom, and it's like we really want to get rid of the bathtub. And then when you think about that, you're like, well, that's odd. Like, and we got rid of the bathtub in our own house. We're like, we don't ever use it. Like we want to have it, but when we think about it, we don't ever use it.
Well, that's even a great analogy, honestly, Grant, because like the square footage that you could use in your master suite bathroom that's occupied by that tub that you use annually is similar to a diving board in that like it actually breaks up the flow around the pool. That's what I tell people that all the time. I'm like, you're going to love it the first summer that your kids use it, and then they stop using it. And then you're going to call us and ask us, how hard is it to take this out? I'm going to say, well, it's tied into the rebar, so it's going to be a project.
It's interesting. It's also interesting to get feedback, like, because we asked the question socially, like, oh, what do you think? And like the reality is like 2/3 of people were like, yeah, no, we don't really need it, or we like to have it, but we never use it. That's like generally the thing.
Another thing too, speaking of kind of diving boards and features on side of the pools that are really great ideas and concept, most of the time we're talking to people about water features, and a lot of people love the idea of water features. And then we start talking about these things called auto covers, which if you're not familiar, it's a switch near your pool that you can press and it will close your pool. So when you're talking about winterization, I mean, that's one thing, but the main purpose of the auto cover, I mean, it does keep some heat in the pool. It certainly keeps some of the leaves out of the pool. All of those things are true. The main thing is the safety factor. You can close your pool, lock the switch box, walk away. Nobody's getting in your pool. So, and when you do that, it doesn't necessarily negate or preclude you from being able to do water features, but it does change the game up, because if you've got water features on the outside of the pool, you close the pool, you turn the water features on, you've got a problem, that kind of thing. So we have a lot of those conversations with people who are dreaming really big, and we try to help them say, okay, we'd love to help you accomplish this dream, and let's talk about again, going back to my question of how do you intend to use this pool, who's around, do you have young non-swimmers at this point, lots of people with fur babies that want to keep their pool covered.
What type of people generally are getting a pool, can afford to get a pool? How do they fund it? Is it financed? Do they try to do it when they're selling, so they fund it into their mortgage? Like, walk us down that just a little bit. Like,
yeah, I mean, man, we do pools for a lot of different people. We have long-standing contracts with custom home builders that we don't even, and even spec home builders that we don't know who's going to buy this house at the end of the job or buy this pool. And so the amount of people that call in interested in pools, I wouldn't say there's a type. Yeah, some people are like, I've got to get my kids something to do in the summertime. They're driving me crazy around the house. Or around COVID, that changed the whole game. If people were like, I'd like to spend more money at my house than I would outside of my house.
Did that just completely change things about pools? I mean, I'm sure that the COVID market impacted a lot, but how did it impact pools and how people use their space?
I don't think the pool industry has ever been affected by anything more than it was COVID. People started considering the idea of spending more money at home if they're going to spend more time at home. And then what would it be like if we had all these fun things that we do out here and we have to travel for? What if we had that in the comfort of our own home? We have a lot of people spend more money in their backyards than we've ever seen in the past. And some of that has changed, certainly, like 4 years out of COVID, and the hysterical demand for pools has gone down. But people are still seeing the value in staying home and spending money on their home and where they live, and even immersing in their community and people they're close with. And I think a pool is a big part of that. We've grown closer with friends because we have a pool at our house. They come over more often. Their kids are at our house. So yeah, that had a significant impact. But as far as your initial question, the types of people who can afford it, I mean, we've got a financing arm where we help people that are really looking to achieve this dream, and we can help them with that. The financing arm through BiFin really understands our industry and is well versed in kind of our projects and that kind of thing. So they lend for swimming pools, but then we've got people who take out HELOCs. We got people who, I don't know that I've had anybody roll it into a mortgage. Potentially, I guess, with a HELOC.
Yeah, it's just a thought. I know sometimes they'll try to catch it like, hey, we're going to do it. We're going to put a pool in.
Well, I'll say certainly existing pools. So if you're buying a house with an existing pool, there's lots of negotiation that can happen as far as like, we're going to need to do this. And that's important to get us involved before you make the deal.
That was going to be my last question to you. Is when does a realtor get John involved? Like, this needs to be inspected. Like, can you walk me through a few different scenarios where it's like, hey, call me because I can help you do this?
Yeah, we don't actually do like real estate transaction pool inspections, like a home inspection where we give you a very detailed report. Now, there's some really good companies around our area that do that, and we work closely with them. They don't usually price any of the work. They just say, hey, you need it. So at that point, it's like, hey, I've got this list of things that needs to be done. And also, these pool inspection folks are typically going to be, for understandable reasons, to the letter of the law, like, hey, this is not ideal, or hey, you've got a crack in your coping, or something like that. I don't know. Use an example. Have a professional look at that. And as a non-pool owner, new to the pool world, whether it be the realtor or the potential home buyer, it might sound really scary. It's very important for us to look at it. I can't tell you how many pool reports I've gone through, inspection reports, and said, this is not a big issue. Just hang tight. Like, maybe it's a 5-year issue. It's not a huge thing. Don't spend any money on it right now. This might be a bigger issue that you want to address before you purchase the house. And we see a fair amount of that. If you're looking at a house and taking the next step to make an offer, you really want to get a pool inspector involved, and we can help connect you with the right pool inspector. And then at that point, I can interpret that pool inspection for you, or we can. And if you're looking at buying a house with the intentions of building a pool, also very important before you make that deal, if that's a must, have us out there to take a look. If the realtor doesn't know what the setbacks are and the property lines are, we can get that information from the county and say, yes, you can fit a such and such pool with such and such hardscape. Generically speaking, this is going to look like this.
Got it. When it comes to selling a house that, obviously the agent knows there's a pool, it seems like an obvious thing to bring up. Hey, this house does have a pool. We have a preferred partner for all of pool servicing, and we'll make an introduction. They'll do XYZ for you. I think it's always something, as a real estate agent, you always want the consumer to think it's almost like you're capable of more. Like, I can go to my realtor for anything. And so when the agent can confidently say, like, I have a preferred partner for all of my pool servicing, and they do this XYZ for you and facilitate those introductions, you always want to have a guy. Like, I got a concrete guy, I got a pool guy, I got a roofer. And so just as a real estate professional, if you're listening to this, connect with John. He's our partner. Connect with him. Send him your questions, send him your comments, send him your concerns, send him your clients, obviously. But just equip yourself with professionals that can help answer these questions for you, because it just helps you so much as an individual real estate agent communicating with your clients when you say these things, preferred partner, and you use the expertise of somebody like John. I mean, it's just goes a long way in building up yourself as a professional in the mind of your customers. And so use John. He's an amazing resource. Obviously knows a lot about pools. And I just appreciate you, John. Appreciate you being here with me for a little bit today, just to kind of talk a little bit about pools. And it's such a niche topic. And some people, I was like, what all could we talk about related to pools? But really, when you dig into it, there's a lot to talk about. And it impacts the house. It impacts real estate. It impacts home values. It impacts the individual. So I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you spending some time with me. It was great to connect with you and hear more about all of the expertise you've got surrounding this.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Grant. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to helping out in any way we can. Yeah. So we're available, and utilize this.
Yeah, love it. All right. Thanks, John.